Let me take you through the process on how I made this trending gown for my birthday shoot. I'm size 12, so I used 2 drafting paper for this, but you need enough paper for both front and back. So you go ahead to measure how long you want the gown to be and add extra 1 inches for the front. When you are done, you go ahead to measure the chest, your chest measurements, that's from your shoulder to the chest point. Mine is 8 inches. Then you draw your line. You go ahead to measure from your shoulder to your bust point. Mine is 10 inches. Then you go ahead to measure from your shoulder to your half length, that's your waist axis. You go ahead to roll the line. When you are done with that, you measure your shoulder to hip. You go ahead to roll the line. Then you measure from your shoulder to your nail. You go ahead to roll the line too. When you are done with that, if you notice very well, I divide this brown drafting paper into 2. For the back bodies, you just need your chest measurement, while for your half cut, you would have to minus 2 inches. So the back bodies is quite shorter than the front bodies. Down to the hip, the nail and the length is 2 inches shorter than the front because of the dart you'll be having at the side. You'll be having that at the side close to the bust or even at the bust for axis. This, if you notice very well, you will notice that the down of my brown paper is not as equal as the up one. That's not an issue. That place that is not equal, the more you go, you understand what I did here. It's not an issue. So you go ahead to write the names of what the line indicates. That's the chest, the bust. You go ahead to write chest there, bust, waist or half cut measurements, half cut line, hip line, knee, full length. You do the same thing to the back. When you are done, you are going to divide this brown paper into 2 for you not to get confused. So this other side is for the back, the other side is for the front. For the front neck, I used 3 inches for the wideness and 3.5 inches for the depth. So you go ahead to curve it or form the neck. While for the shoulder, I use 5.5 inches for the shoulder and I slant it by half inches. For the chest, you divide your chest into 4. Then you go ahead to curve to get your armpit hole. While for the bust, you divide your bust into 4. For this, there is no seam allowance yet. For the waist, you divide your waist into 4, your waist measurement into 4. For the hip, you divide it into 4 and add 1.5 inches for you to be quite full. I should not be choking your body like that. While for the nail, you minus 1.5 inches from what you have for the hip. So that's what you will use down to the full length of your gown. Why you are adding 1.5 inches to the hip is for it not to be kind of straight gown, it should not be straight gown form. So it should be quite free. So you go ahead to draw it downward. When you are done, you divide your bust point into 4. When you are done dividing it, you come to the seam axis and measure 2 inches downward and slant it. So that's for the dart. This one is for the dart. You go ahead to measure 1 inches down from your waist and 4 inches up. That's from your nail. You measure 4 inches up and you connect the lines together. When you are done, you go ahead to draw a straight line. This will serve as the plating, and this will be a cut and spread method. Make sure you indicate your hip. It's very necessary. Your hip line, make sure you indicate the hip line there. It's very, very necessary. You are going to stop the line where the line you draw ended. You see it right. You go ahead to cut out the excesses. When you are done cutting out the excesses, you go ahead to cut out that slant line as seen in the video. Then you set this aside. You move to the back bodies. You measure 3 inches for the wideness of the neck and 1.5 inches for the depth, and also 5.5 inches for the shoulder, and you still slant it by 1.5 inches. For the chest measurement, you divide your chest into 4 and use this to form an armpit hole. I did a mistake here, which is supposed to be at this other side, but I'm still going to correct it. So you go ahead to divide your half cut measurement into 4. your hip measurement into 4. The same thing you did for the back, that's what you are doing for the front. The hip measurement, you are adding 1.5 inches to it. For the new measurement, you are minusing 1.5 inches from it, and that's what you draw downward. For that slanting I did there, that's not where it's supposed to be. This is supposed to be here for the zip axis. I really do not want the back to have that. So you are going to go inside a little, 1 inches from your waist axis. You are going to take it inside. I don't want it to have this zip bulge at the back, so you are going to redo it. I don't know if you understand, but I guess the more you follow, you understand. So you are going to redo it and curve it, because I mistakenly put the zip axis at the other side. You go ahead to remove the excesses. When you are done correcting that, you go ahead to remove the excesses, and you place the front bodies, that from the hip axis, to make this slant rather for the back. It should be exactly, so you carefully measure it to make that slant, and you go ahead to draw a straight line and divide it again. As you divide this slant, as seen in the video. The hip of this tie does not have seam allowance, so we have to cover the seam axis. So you are going to open that hip, the hip line, you are going to open both the back and the front together and sellotape it. Use a masking tape or any sellotape to cover it, as seen in the video. You are going to do it from the beginning to there, down to the length of this, as seen in the video. When you are done doing it like this, you draw a line and you place it on the fabric and start dividing it. When you are done dividing it, you are going to measure 1 inches for the pleating. You go ahead to draw a line. You are going to measure 1 inches for the pleating, that's for the pleating, and draw a line. Note, you are adding 1/2 inch on both sides for the sewing, and make sure you don't forget to notch where the pleating ended. That is all to how to form this pleating. For the front bodies, you are going to place it as seen in the video. You are using 1 inches for the seam allowance from the bust to the waist. Right from this slant downward, you are using 1/2 inches. I'll be dropping another tutorial on how to sew it and the net rows I made on the shoulder axis. If you love to see more of this, please subscribe and share. Thank you so much for watching.